Alright, welcome to my CAA Today remake. If you don't know what happened, the file got corrupted for actual CAA Today that we did live. And so, here's my remake. We had a pretty interesting week of games as the CAA North took a 9-7 lead in the battle for Appomattox. Let's get right into it. Our first game was Delaware at Robert Morris. RMU won 41-35 in double overtime. Good win for them. All their wins have been pretty close, except for one in which they won 23-7. But other than that, all of their games have been one score. All of their wins have been one score games. For Delaware, the hype was a little too much to handle, and so they falter against Robert Morris in double overtime. Our next game, Richmond just demolishes Delaware State, to say the least. Constant offensive pressure and a good defense that held Delaware State to less yards than normal. Combine that with a +1 turnover differential, and you get a 35-14 Richmond win. Towson at Duquesne. Towson just absolutely laid the hammer down. We got the Holy Cross version of Duquesne this week, who zigged when they should have zagged. And so, just a couple bad calls in this game kind of blew out of the water after halftime. It was 28-7, and then Towson just carried that momentum to a 53-14 win. Next was my game, James Madison, Morgan State. I won 49-38. There's not much to say here. It was a pretty ordinary game. I got a pick six at the end. That was kind of cool. But it was close throughout. I had a good first and third quarter. Morgan State had a good second quarter, but couldn't do much in the fourth quarter. Our fifth game here, and if you're looking at the top box score, the scores are flipped. It should be 31 to William and Mary and 35 to VMI. VMI wins. This is another one that's not really out of the ordinary. It was a pretty well-contested game throughout, pretty even. VMI just got more rushing yards. Got more time of possession. The rushing yards were about equal. And lastly, our voted game of the week this week was Villanova at YSU. Youngstown State, once again, another pretty evenly contested game, except for that third quarter. But it was a very clean game, no turnovers. Time of possession was the big difference, as YSU was able to run that clock out a lot faster than Villanova would have wanted. So going into the little afterthoughts, what did I get wrong? I missed Robert Morris, I missed myself, and then I missed VMI. Coach of the week, it was a pretty obvious choice for Robert Morris, but I wanted to give a shout to Mr. D, who took over a struggling Towson team and brought them to 500. Our stat of the week was 6 top 10 teams losing, and we'll get into that later. Our players of the week, Quade Cooper, which was a Towson quarterback. He's probably not legal to play, but we look past the rules here. Threw for 330 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 in the air, 2 on the ground. And for defense, it was my cornerback, partially because I didn't have it. No one else really told me any good defensive players, who had 9 tackles and 2 sacks. And then our power rankings, nothing surprising here. Youngstown State takes number 1 unanimously. Delaware, even after that loss, slides a little bit. Towson, VMI tied, but Towson gets the tiebreaker to slide into number 3. And then Villanova, William and Mary close out the top half. Bottom half, we have Morgan State sliding and James Madison climbing. And then the bottom 4 are Delaware State, Richmond, Robert Morris, who can't get out of 11th, even after a big win, and Duquesne bringing up the rear as expected. And our most surprising Week 10 upset, the unanimous choice was Bethune-Cookman, losing to Jacksonville State, because even though Jacksonville State is a good coach, it is very, very interesting to see a number 1 team lose to an unranked. You could see them losing to Kennesaw State, but not Jacksonville State, so that was very surprising. But the other top 10 teams who lost are Princeton, who lost to Penn, Alabama A&M, New Hampshire, Delaware, and Incarnate Word, all top 10 teams who took the fall this week. Our Week 10 contender and pretender, everyone's contender was Penn after that big win. We talked about it on Blind Resumes. This would be their test game, and they passed the test. And then my pretender, we have a special graphic here, as it is North Dakota State. They were poised to win the Prairie, and now they fumbled the bag against Drake. They still have a chance to. It's not over, but it is less likely now, and they have to win more games as a result of losing. Other pretenders were Campbell and New Hampshire, because they just can't seem to prove themselves after they get good rankings. Campbell has fallen to 500. New Hampshire is somewhere around 8-2 or 7-3. So our Week 10 look ahead in a potential CAA South matchup. My game of the week was William and Mary versus Delaware. I see Delaware winning. DSU at Duquesne. I see Delaware State recovering, but it'll be a shootout. So I'm going 56-7 because I need a big win. Edge with a more realistic take says 62-58. University of Richmond at JMU. I pick myself here, but I think it'll be close, very close, less than one score. Youngstown State at Morgan State. Morgan State lost a tough one, and I don't see them recovering against a team in Youngstown that has all the momentum for them. Villanova at Robert Morris. This is a tough one. I'm going to pick Robert Morris, but the more common option here is to pick Villanova. But give me the hype, give me Robert Morris. And then lastly, the other game of the week choice was Towson at VMI. This is another Battle for Appomattox game, so I need VMI to win. But realistically, Edge and Bernie say Towson wins 35-31. The ins and outs, we have Delaware. So for the CAA South, if Delaware wins and VMI loses, Delaware clinches. Vice versa, if VMI loses, Delaware wins, VMI is out. And then three teams, JMU, Richmond, and Delaware State. If they lose, or Delaware or VMI wins, they are all eliminated. In the CAA North, YSU will clinch with a win. And then Villanova, Robert Morris, and Towson will be eliminated with a loss or a Youngstown State win. No blind resumes this week, so we're going to get right into listener topics. Was It Up asks, ask the other host a question. So I asked, what's your favorite food? Edge says chicken. Edge said, what's your favorite number? I said 12 because I'm a Stanford fan and Indianapolis Colts. So, Andrew Luck just kind of fits the two right there. Pilo says, what's it like to live a satisfying experience? None of us know, except for Bernie. He said something about better after college, so let's hope that happens. Your favorite FFCS memory? I said MIAA or the CAA becoming active. Edge said game-wise beating Delaware, but otherwise picking Villanova over Pitt. CSU asked who falls the most in the new poll. We said Delaware. Tenny asks who falls the least. We said Bethune-Cookman. And then Charleston Southern went on a tangent of asking like 6 questions, so these are all his questions. Conference with the least amount of playoff bids, we said MAC. Conference with the worst week, we said Southland because they only had like their top 5 teams all lost. Which conference will have a big offseason? We said America East or MAC. Team that lost this week that still wins the conference, Bethune-Cookman or Princeton, we said. We see both of them winning. Favorite to win the Natty, obviously MVSU, Bethune-Cookman are 2 good shouts. But my pick personally is Kennesaw State, for reasons that if you want me to explain, I'll explain later. Slolo says, why do you think so many good teams lost? It might just be a coincidence, honestly. It could be burnout because of D2. It could just be, a bad week. Charleston Southern, 3 last questions for him. Someone outside the top 35. Elon is at number 40. His question was someone outside the top 35 that could be like a dark horse. I said Elon. Edge and Bernie said Northern Iowa. Charleston Southern asking who is the best rapper to live. Tupac number 1, Eminem number 2. Number 3 is open for me. It could be someone from this new generation of rap. I like Polo G. Lil Baby's got some good hits. Pop Smoke, obviously, good rapper throughout. Is Taylor Swift country or pop? She's both. If you want an explanation, hit my DMs. Sarah says thoughts on Mersbo. they're pretty cool. Honestly, I listen to them. They do some cool instrumental stuff. And then lastly, from Fruity, we want to mention the FCS showdown between PP and Poo Poo. And I'm not going to comment on that. It was a mess and probably should have never happened. Danny should have probably focused on finishing OEC. And yeah, that's my Week 10 recap. If you're listening to this, I'm so sorry we couldn't get the actual show to you. Just technology happens sometimes. So I hope you listen to this, and peace out.